Welcome to the Young Saints Leadership Podcast, where we're going to be talking about all things youth, from leadership culture to supernatural youth ministry and discipling revivalist. We hope you guys enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Hey. Welcome to our podcast.
What's up?
This is Mari, if you don't know, and Rory and Dante are here with me. We are so excited to have you. We have a very fun topic we're going to talk about. But first, we would like to share some fun, maybe good or bad moments from our youth night this last week. To start us off, this was a funny moment. I lead worship here, and in the middle of our junior high worship set, I'm like telling the band to go somewhere, and I'm like, come on, like, let's pick this up. And then my music director in our little in-ears goes, we don't have a drummer. And I turn around and the drummer had left. And I was like, what? And he's like, he broke the drums. So for those of you who know, he broke his floor kick. So that was a fun moment.
But I did not know this. I thought he had diarrhea and literally was off the stage. Me and Tom were like looking at each other. I was like, "Oh my god, did he just like get diarrhea and couldn't make it?"
Yeah, they say he just walked off.
Yeah, Chantel thought he just walked off. She's like, "Where did your drummer go?" And I'm like, "Oh, he broke it. It wasn't just like he abandoned us." So
sorry, bro. If you listen to this, I got the story right now.
Yeah, but what would you have done if you like literally your drum breaks?
Oh, I thought you were going to say I had diarrhea. I was like, I've had that happen before, and I have literally been playing keys way long ago and had to book
you had to go.
And I was like, done. One pad, hold, sustain, 1 and a 5,
and then we just stay in that key forever.
You just stay in that key till the person comes back. Like, I've totally had that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the worst, though.
I don't know what I would do. I would probably just sit there and
what you're going to say?
And worship and pray to God. That the drizzle.
Oh my
God. I bet that's happened. I would bet
100%.
Yeah. Well, I don't, honestly, is it so bad that I can't remember last
that is bad. Night? We had so many testimonies from last youth night. We did the same
because
with the
I'm thinking about squads was yesterday. So
no, that crazy one with that girl that got saved.
Oh yeah, that was last week. Gosh.
We also had our staff retreat in between this.
Yes, we just went on staff retreat. We had such a good time in Monterey. Yeah, there has been a lot.
There's been a lot this week.
Yeah. But that was a cool story.
It was.
Yeah.
Girl got radically saved. It was powerful.
Yeah. From
what
another
service?
Guy who, it was high school.
From, I won't say his name in case, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he got it for school. Yeah.
He got saved just in this summer, probably 5 or 6 months ago, plugged in. And
then he invited her.
And
she had a full-on encounter. And
it was pretty
crazy. Amazing. Yeah, it was really cool.
It's better than my drummer leaving. So good job, guys.
Yeah. Yay. Well, that was youth night. But today's topic. Is why the heck is youth ministry so freaking hard? It's hard. It
can be hard, yes.
It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not. It's not. There's so many dynamics and so many different things. Man, and you got to know that you're called to it.
It's true.
You got to know that He has me here, and I'm going to stick it through because there's something greater on the other side.
But why is it so hard? I mean, there's lots of reasons, but
there's so many reasons.
Who wants to start?
I
can tell Rory's
I'll
itching.
dive in. I'm itching. I'll dive in. I think something that I had this thought hit me just before we started the podcast. So look at this thought, brand new thought. I think youth ministry is really hard because we are working with teenagers that we know and the spirit world knows are informative years that get to decide how they view life. So I feel like there's a lot more warfare against teenagers than maybe as you get older, a lot of ways get set, a lot of ideals get solidified, but there's this moment where there's so much pliable material that can be formed and changed. Yeah. And so as you're like going in to like create beliefs and create encounters and see God do stuff, there's so much added intensity into that moment because kids, so many people get saved or have an encounter with God in their junior high and high school life.
Right.
That sets them up forever. It's like, wow, I had this encounter and it changed where I was going in life. So I don't know if that's
Right.
to start the topic, a part of it, because I think sometimes it can be like, wow, it's so intense. Like, this is crazy. But I think it could be because of that. Like, there is a lot of...
Like, almost we forget about the warfare over their souls as teenagers.
Yep.
And the impact of, like, if you raise a kid in the way they should go when they're older, they won't depart from it. The impact of getting to set stuff in motion when you're young, that actually sets somebody up for the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's a good thought, honestly. But I think another reason why it could be so hard, I was thinking about this morning, was somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was culture or just social outworking of our society, we are taught to think that youth ministry is less than.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like we said in our last podcast a few times ago, oh, you're just paying your time. Right. And of like how teenagers are less than for some reason, even less than sometimes than children's ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just like this overarching.
Teenagers aren't the most grateful people that have ever existed on the earth.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's true.
That can be hard.
But that's where I'm going. Because like in reality, their soul has equal value to your young adult. Or to your older person in your church, or even to the 5-year-old in kids ministry. Mm-hmm. The soul value is the same, but you get less of a response in youth ministry. So we might think we are less successful because we're not being fed that thing inside of us telling us we are.
Right.
That's true.
There's not like a greater response or even the way to measure, we're making an impact, because you don't always see the fruit in young people because they can be brick walls sometimes.
I know.
I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you alive?
Or you see them have that encounter one week and the next week they're repenting of stuff. You're like, wait, I thought last week was good.
What happened?
You're like, oh wait,
But
it's all together.
Youth
This is
ministry,
all
I think
good.
that's why it's so hard, is like you don't get to just determine your success based on their response.
Yeah.
Like
You
we
see
have
them in the up and downs.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have to have our barometer of what success is in youth ministry, and if we're making a difference on something totally non-physical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you won't see the fruit or even their response to you for years. And you could hear, like, how many of us heard years later, you made such an impact in my life in that moment when you gave me that word or that encounter. Yeah. And we're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea you even cared. Like,
yeah, it's true. Most of the times when someone tells me about a moment, I'm like, I don't even remember that moment happening.
Youth pastors have to strengthen themselves in the Lord and create a higher vision for what is happening, because we cannot be swayed by what we see, because you won't see a ton of response all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's also where it's sometimes you can get stuck in this like desire to have a lot of events. I wonder if it's where the event culture has started to really grow in youth ministry, because events kind of capitalize on response. There's this like moment where it's like, man, you can have a lot of physical fruit at an event.
Oh, let's do that again. Got to have that annual event.
Yeah, just and it's almost addictive, because in youth ministry, when you're going week by week, you're not always going to see that much fruit, even though it's happening. You have to see with different eyes. And I think that's where like it can either be really hard or really rewarding based on how you see it.
Right. Yeah.
You're either like, wow, we're making a big difference because I'm knowing what I'm looking for. Or it's, oh my God, none of the kids are worshiping tonight. What happened? We were just worshiping so good for like 4 weeks. And tonight's like chaos happens everywhere. And I think if you are unaware of that, you're like, you can easily go internal. What's wrong with me as a leader? What have I done? What are we doing? Is there sin? Is there something happening? Instead of just going, oh, kids, they needed a week.
Yeah.
Might have been finals.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's so good. I just kind of want to go back on strengthening yourself in the Lord, because I think a lot of times us as leaders, we can sometimes fail to pour in as much as we're pouring out. And I think that a lot of times, like, it's on us that we're having a hard time and we're thinking about leaving, or we want to go to the next thing, and it's not just the external, but it's, am I actually strengthening myself in the Lord? Am I being reminded why I do what I do? Am I opening up to other leaders around me? Because a lot of times in youth ministry, you can feel alone. And when it's just you, of course, it's going to feel a lot more hard. Especially when you're trying to build a youth team, and you're like, man, my youth leaders are teenagers. You know, I'm trying to find people around me who I can run with. It can get hard.
Even youth ministry, like we forget, like obviously young people, no response, their formative years, there's a lot going on, but also developing a youth leadership team also makes youth ministry super hard, because you also have to cast the vision for the value of what we're doing and get them to show up. And sometimes the people that we get, they're younger and they're figuring out their life too. So you're like helping them figure out their life, and then you're helping these teenagers figure out their life. You're like, oh my gosh, everyone's just figuring out life together.
And you can easily forget that you're still figuring out your life as a youth pastor. And you're like,
how do I do all this? It feels like a lot sometimes.
You know, one of the things that have like taken the stakes off of like the pressure that you can sometimes feel from doing youth ministry, because you got pressure coming from parents, you got pressure coming from your leaders, and it's not like bad pressure, it's just expectations of, hey, my students coming on a Wednesday night, I will hope that they're getting something. The person that has given
that's
that they're safe,
topic.
Does somebody see them? There's a lot of
so there's expectations.
We'll hit that later down the road, guys.
Right. The students are coming, you know, they're wanting to hang out with friends, they want to vibe, and they want to worship God, they want to know what is and they're not thinking about anybody else but themselves.
No,
and hopefully we can help them along that journey. And then you have your leaders, you know, your senior pastor who has a vision for what he wants, you know, the youth to look like. So you have these different expectations. But one of the things that have, I think, taken the pressure off of us is that we don't put stakes on every Wednesday. Like, oh, there's always another youth night. Like tonight we're going to be present. We're going to do what's in front of us. We're going to be faithful with what we feel like the word is for tonight. But man, if we miss it, there's another youth night.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to be back here next Wednesday.
I think we learned that from Banning.
That's what I was going to say. Banning was the one. So when he launched Jesus Culture Church, he came back after like a year of launching it and spoke at one of our conferences.
I think it was our youth pastor school, actually.
It might have been our youth pastor school. And he shared an analogy. He said, you know, when you're doing events, you're trying to hit home runs every time. You're like doing this big event, you want a home run. When you get into local church ministry, you realize winds change. I just need to get on base.
Yes.
Some nights, man, I hit that double and it's amazing. Other nights, I bunt the ball and I barely got on. Some nights we strike out and you're like, bummer. You know, it just didn't work across the board, but that's okay. There's another game. And I think that when you think like that, or there's another inning, when he shared that, it helped me just shift like, everything we do, not a big deal. But in a year's time, I should be able to measure that we got points on the board. And if in a year's time, I'm looking at the board going, we didn't get any points, then I need to actually think, or in 6 months, I need to think, ooh, something's off. But not every game, not every night. You almost need to think in like 6-month increments in youth ministry, where unfortunately a lot of pressure, not bad pressure, like you said, it's just expectations. Kind of create a person to go, I need to prove something within a month. Within 4 to 6 weeks, I need to have some stuff to share. And especially even in a culture where I would say this can happen a lot is if you have a staff meeting where everybody shares the wins of the week. You can really feel pressured to create wins to look good because you don't know how to just share. Like a win was, man, we had a new kid come, and that was a win. And instead of like, I want to set this up big. So man, kids were engaged in worship. We're really, it just wasn't that great, but I'm really going to set this up well.
That one kid in the corner.
That one kid in the corner, but I'm seeing kids were there. Because I think we're embarrassed sometimes to say, I only hit a single. Or man, the kids were really chaotic. It's about to be summer or winter break. They were chaos. So you know what the win was tonight? We talked to a lot of kids. We said hi.
Yeah. I think that goes back to the event culture of we feel like we have to hit home runs all the time, and we have to measure these big moments that look successful. But in reality, that's not how life is. Life is not all big moments, and some of the times the big moments aren't even the most impactful ones. Yeah. And I think we need to look at young people as this garden that is a slow growing with seasons and ebbs and flows. And if you were to have a constant downpour, your garden would die. That tree would die. It's not made to have constant water. Like sometimes you need the drier seasons to develop roots. And if we can look at it big picture, you look at it big picture of this is my garden that I am over and I'm throwing seeds. Like events aren't wins, they're seeds. They don't determine longevity a lot of the time. Right. Discipleship determines longevity, and that's just constant seeds and watering and letting sunshine come and letting things grow and develop slowly, which is so countercultural to what we live in today. Yeah. That slow process that the Lord created and designed, we need to almost pull back and say, no, a kid's life is not a microwave. It's a garden, and we need to help flourish and nurture the best way we can.
And I would say to release some hope, I think somewhere, I'm pretty sure this is accurate. If I'm wrong, it'll be close to it. But either we are the most thing that people are equated to in the Bible is trees, or it's the second. I think it's the most thing, though, that people are described as in the Bible. Other than people, they're described as trees. So there's a lot of times the Lord will use a tree illustration to illustrate a people or people. And I think it's intriguing that he does that because trees take so long to grow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're all unique, and they take a lot of different elements to actually develop. And I think sometimes when we can lose hope if we forget that we're a tree, if we forget that we have a garden. And I think sometimes we can go into youth ministry, and the reason it's so hard is we can have an expectation that we're supposed to be this type of leader and this type of person and this type of speaker and this type of person that can lead the room and create games and find your niche and go after it and cultivate, and forgetting like, oh no, I'm a garden. The Lord's going to prune me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have to make sure that I have stuff growing, but it takes time.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And if I have that understanding in myself, it is a lot easier to have that understanding in the people I'm leading.
Totally.
And to not always feel like, oh my gosh, one of our leaders didn't show up again. Do we need to reset the whole culture? Oh my gosh, one of our leaders did something that we talked about not doing. Oh my gosh, one of our kids ran off campus and snuck off. Do we need to like reset the boundary lines? You don't. You don't. Yeah, sometimes there's, a little straggly vine that gets snipped. It's really easy. But you don't need to uproot the whole garden.
Yeah. Doesn't mean your whole garden's bad.
Yeah.
Yes. That's great.
I love that.
Before we end, man, I had so many different thoughts when you were talking about the tree. It reminded me of when we were in Monterey and we saw that 250-year-old
okay,
tree.
Can we share this story? Y'all would just love this.
Yes.
Okay, so we're on the 17-mile drive. If you ever go to Monterey.
It's actually in Carmel.
Oh, it's in Carmel by the sea.
Carmel.
That's right, Carmel. Okay, so
we also found out Mari's really good at directions and Rory is very
so bad at directions.
Horrible.
My whole life. So anyways, we're on the 17-mile drive and there's like these stops. And one of the stops is called this lone cypress tree. And it's this tree that's on like this little shoot cliff thing, but they have like built the wall up. Yeah. They've built another wall around this tree, and then the tree is literally strapped with by like ropes or cables to the mountain. And we're laughing at Dante's like, wow, this tree, they really don't want this tree falling into the ocean. And as we're walking back to the car, I see this sign that says, the lone cypress tree, 250 years old, has been,
and I'm like, man, that's an old tree. That's crazy. This tree is older, almost like as old as the country. 250
and I literally laughed. I was like, bro, every tree around here is probably older than 250.
Like right across the street, we're looking at these trees and we're like, oh yeah, they're even bigger.
They're even bigger. Yeah, literally, there was trees around it that were even bigger. I was like, oh my god, one sign that just puts notice on something makes it feel more valuable. But every tree in this forest is older. It was a great moment.
Well, anyways, I guess that's where we end.
You guys are doing great. It's hard, but just get the big picture. Strengthen yourself in the Lord.
Find people.
Find people.
Find us. We're here.
Don't worry. Seriously, you're not in a rush. God is a gardener. He's in process.
Get
if
those
he enjoys
singles.
process, we can figure out the process too.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we love you guys. Talk to you later.